And then I came around a circuit of the apartment, the big apartment, and I grabbed Liza and I put Liza Minnelli on my other shoulder, and I had both of them on my shoulder, and I'm leaping and skipping around the apartment. And my wife was there to witness this, so she can testify.
Let us get to introducing our fabulous, wonderful guest. He is our favorite guy with a polka dot shirt. It is our very own Robert Duncan.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Danica, I see you're wearing polka dot dress in the what do you call it? The graphic at the beginning.
I love that dress. It's my it's an actual vintage 50s off-shoulder little polka dot number.
Yeah. My wife has one of those vintage things like that, and this, I realize I have pictures of me in a polka dot shirt playing guitar at 12 years old in my first band. So it's like,
they look great.
I guess it's Arrested Development. Let's just face it.
I feel like for the next time that we stream Danica, I feel like we should also be wearing polka dots.
I'm very okay with this.
You really should.
Done.
I've tried other shirts. Doesn't work. Does not work.
I get it.
Yeah. I even bought a red polka dot shirt, and my wife bought it for me. It was like, nah.
No, the black and white. So, okay, you mentioned you were in your first band at the age of what, 10, 12?
12.
What was the name of this band?
The band was called, and I didn't name the band, so don't hold this. It was called The Lanterns. It was kind of like I think it was kind of a holdover from the 50s, but so this was like, mid 60s, and we were playing surf music in New York City. But that was the thing. You played adventures and, safaris and then very quickly I told this story, but stop me if I'm telling it again. But then, all the British invasion happened right then. And it was like, oh shit, we need to have a singer in our band. We can't just be instrumental. We won't get any gigs, because we started playing all the little baby dances and stuff. And I was the first one. I was the only one at that point in the band whose voice had changed. It was all guys, and of course, and so they said, "Oh, you got to be singer, man. You got to be. We can't have somebody squeaking there at the mic,
Going through puberty mid-song, yeah."
So that was just fine with me, because I was a terrible guitar player, and I was an okay singer.
I kind of like the name The Lanterns. Like
The Lanterns, yeah.
I like a lot worse.
I didn't like. I never liked it, but but it wasn't my band. It was, I think it was Dennis Guerrero's band.
Shout out to Dennis.
I haven't seen since like I was 12 years old.
That's crazy. Well, one of the things, the last time that we had you on the stream, I mean, you have so many amazing stories. And like we said, we feel like we barely even had the chance to scratch the surface, but we ended the stream like right at the end. And you had mentioned a story about having Farah, Fawcett and Liza Minnelli on your shoulders. I think that's where we left off.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the way I got to come back, is I drop that story.
You dropped it. Yeah. We're curious. We need to know.
Gotta know.
Well, I had this story in my book, Loudmouth. I'm not trying to pimp it, but
pimp it. That's what we're here for.
But it was like, it's not really a rock and roll story, but anyways, it didn't seem to fit. But all right, the story is one of my childhood friends, a guy I knew since the time I was in bands at 6th grade, was his family. They were all kind of showbiz folk, and his father was a stage manager, and my mother, I guess she was an actress or something. They were broke showbiz folk. They were nice folk, but his father had, I'm telling you the long story, I shouldn't be, but his father had got a call from Liza Minnelli, and Liza Minnelli said, hey, Frank, I'm going on, I'm going to have a Broadway show. I'd like you to be the stage manager again, as he had been for her first Broadway show. And he says, well, I don't do that anymore. I'm a producer, but my son is a stage manager. So that was my friend, Mark. And so Mark became stage manager for Liza Minnelli. And, Mark has moves. And within about within 6 months or something, he said to us, he says, look, I'm going to tell you a secret, and you're not allowed to tell anybody. which of course, does that ever work? I don't think it ever works. And he said, you know, I'm going out with Liza Minnelli. And not that any of us were dying to go out with Liza Minnelli, but he said, and he says, look, we're going to go up there tonight to her apartment. We're going to hang out. So we went up there and hung out. We got to be great, strange as it may seem. We got to be great friends with Liza Minnelli. And I think I said it to you, doing a lot of cocaine up at that apartment. And so a couple of years goes by and he turns 30. And he said to her, or he was about to turn 30. And he said to her, he said, look, his family was theatrical, but they were like broke ass folks and kind of outsiders. And he says, look, when I turn 30, I want to have a party where you invite everybody you know in Hollywood. And sure enough, his 30th birthday rolls around and we got invited, and Ronnie and I and my wife, and God damn it, man, there's, you know, Martin Scorsese is there, and you know, all that crew. You know, who played Mr. Wolf in Pulp Fiction, you know.
Yep, I can see his face. Hold on. Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Wolf. Wait, which one was that?
With
He was the guy who fixed the car when the car got full of blood and guts. Oh, it's he's so wonderful. I love him. Well, anyways, it'll come up on the machine. Yep. But and you know,
Harvey Keitel.
Yes, Harvey Keitel. Yep.
Harvey Keitel. Oh, wonderful. Love him. And anyways, at one point, Lucille Ball arrives at the party, and she's about 3 months from death. And there's kind of a guy under each arm. Yeah, it was a little sad, but they towed her across the room. But again, my friend Mark got his wish of having everybody in Hollywood. And I mean, I don't know who I'll tell you who else was there. I look over in the living room at some point, and this is in her Upper East Side giant apartment with the portrait, the Andy Warhol portrait of her mother, who is, you know, Judy Garland, overlooking the entranceway. And, you know, it was just kind of crazy. It was so kind of old school Hollywood. And I'm standing around the living room, and I look, and there's Gregory Peck, you know, Atticus Finch from Kill a Mockingbird. And, you know, when I was a kid, it was like Atticus Finch was like, you know, he was kind of everybody's hero. I saw the film the other night. In fact, it was on TCM, which is the only thing I watch. And so I guzzled a bunch of beers because I wanted to talk to Gregory Peck. I thought, fuck, he was talking to some woman. And I said, and he was sitting down on a low stool. And I finally went over and said, oh, Mr. Peck, I'm a big fan. I'm sorry to interrupt, or whatever I said. I'm not sure I was that polite, but, and he stood up, and I met a lot of stars. And this guy stood up and kept going. He was so tall, and his voice, well, hello. And he had this booming, you know, voice. He was, you know, he was the only movie star I've ever met who really looked larger than life and looked like a movie star. He was fantastic, very polite to a drunken idiot. And so anyways, the party goes on. Oh, I know. At one point, a guy comes into the party. I'm telling you the whole thing, but it's
this is amazing. Yeah. But, please.
This guy comes in the party, and I thought, who the fuck brought their child to the party? I thought this person walking through the middle of a grown-up party was a 14-year-old boy. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, what's going on there? And he goes over to the bar, and I go to look, and it's not a 14-year-old boy. It's Al Pacino. And he's so short and petite that I'm like, I thought he was a boy. And he was also in his stage makeup he was on Broadway in American Buffalo, which is one of his famous Broadway roles. And he, you know, his hair was dyed and all. I don't know if maybe he didn't even have gray hair at that time, but it was Al Pacino. So anyway, the party goes on, and I'm standing there talking by the doorway I'm talking by the doorway with Harvey Keitel, and we're just having a nice old chat. And Meatloaf's wife. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but Meatloaf's wife.
Loaf, yes.
Remember Meatloaf? And Meatloaf was trying, I guess, to lose weight. He's probably always trying to lose weight because he was pretty heavy dude, and he would, every time the hors d'oeuvres guy would pass, the server, he would grab something, and his wife would hit him on the hand. Marvin, no, his name was, his real name
Marvin
was
Leah Day.
Marvin, yeah, that was it. Yeah. And which it was just funny to see Meatloaf's wife, trying to control him. And so I'm standing by the door, and there's a knock at the door. Nobody else hears it. And so I go and I open the door to Liza Minnelli's apartment, of course. And who's standing there but a guy I know, and I know him because I had just made fun of him in the press and all this stuff. But I think we kind of had a joking relationship. It was Gene Simmons. And Gene Simmons and his date. And who's his date? His date is Diana Ross. And after he gets over, he has a heart attack that he's invited to the best, the most Hollywood swank party he's ever been invited to. And here is this asshole answering the door. And finally he says, "Oh, I'd like to introduce you to my date." And it's, of course, we all know who the date is.
The fabulous Mo. Wow.
And she looked completely fabulous, Diana Ross. She was just, great, big smile and all. So they came in. So I'm a guy who never leaves a party, right, until I'm thrown out. Happens a lot. Or the party just actually ends and there's nothing more that I can squeeze from it. So we get to and Farah Fawcett was there with her longtime boyfriend at the time, Ryan ONeil, the guy from Love Story. I don't know what people remember. So you guys are pop culture mavens.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. So you would know Ryan ONeil, and he was kind of a heartthrob guy for a while. And in fact, at one point during the party, I was just going around. Now I'm getting pretty drunk, and I go into Liza's bedroom. I've been there before, and there's Ryan ONeil. The door was closed. There's Ryan ONeil sitting in a chair by the side table with a giant mound of cocaine. And I said, "Oh, hey," I had met him. I said, "Hey, Ryan," I said, "Hey, can I have some?" And it's the largest mound of cocaine you've ever seen. So he says, "Oh, no, man, I don't have enough." I'm like, "You dickhead." And but I told the story to somebody, and they says, "Yeah, he didn't have enough. I mean, he was a cokehead for a long time."
Holy hell!
So and I wasn't. I would do it when there were rich people around.
Dabbled in there.
Well, I only dabbled in it when there were rich people around. I think I produced my own internal cocaine. But so Ryan was there. Anyways, Ryan and Farah Fawcett ONeil. Cut to, it's 5:30 in the morning. And my friend it's Mark and Liza, me and my wife Ronnie, and Ryan ONeil and Farah Fawcett. And my friend Mark is going, "Dude, you got to go. We got to cut this thing off.
It's time, yeah.
That was it, And although I was quite used to being out till 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, "All right, what the fuck? There's nothing going on here, anyways." And I said, "Okay, now I got to get my jacket. Where's my jacket?" And I can't find my jacket, and I'm running around the house. And so now I'm making a shtick out of it where I'm going, "Where's my fucking jacket? You motherfucker stole my jacket," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just carrying on. And Farah Fawcett comes out of the bathroom. At some point, she says, "Is this your jacket?" And it was just, a funky, windbreaker type thing. And I'm like, "Oh, shit, that is my jacket. You found my jacket." And okay, I have to tell you that when I was a kid, I took life-saving training. It's a long story. I took life-saving training, and they taught us how to carry people, who are way heavier than us, so we could pull them out of the lake or whatever. And so I adapted this technique for bars. So I used to go into bars, and I would find some giant guy, and I would say, "Hey, let me pick you up." I mean, literally pick you up. And so I would pick up the giant guy, and I would run around the bar, and people would be hooting and hollering and all that. So Farah finds my jacket. so as her reward, I grabbed her and I threw her up on my shoulder and I ran around the apartment and I'm jumping over ottomans and I'm just like, yeah, you found my jacket. And Ryan ONeil, you know, Mr. like he's all wired and he's standing there with my friend Mark is like, dude, just put her down. And then Ryan says to Mark, no, you know, you gotta talk him down. You know, Ryan was coming at it like I was really, you know, some head case and I was going to leap out the window with his girlfriend or something. So I'm running around and this just agitates me more, you know? So I'm like, yeah. And then I came around a circuit of the apartment, the big apartment, and I grabbed Liza and I put Liza Minnelli on my other shoulder and I had both of them on my shoulder and I'm leaping and skipping around the apartment and my wife was there to witness this so she can testify and Ryan now is like you know, he's like, oh my God, hey man, and he's trying to talk to me me down and with all his bullshit. So I'm just running around more. And finally, I just kind of deposited them back at the entrance and took my jacket and left. And and of course, I noticed there was a precipitous decline in invitations to Liza Minnelli's house.
Why?
That sounds like a fun party trick.
Yeah, and you know, it was just, but about a month later, they were having some kind of thing at some kind of dinner at a place on the Upper West Side, and it was kind of a glassed-in, you know, patio on like, well, I don't know, Columbus, whatever it was, and it was about 10 people, and we did get invited to this. It must have been somebody we were related to or something. They had to invite us, and at this one, there was, you know, Robin Williams arrived and there was like bushes outside. And I remember he did the whole bit standing up from the bushes outside and, you know, whatever. There was a bunch of those people and the table all filled up. Maybe it was 12 people at the table and there's 2 seats left and they were opposite me and my wife. And so Farah and Ryan ONeil come in and they're stuck with these seats. And I said, oh, hey, Farah, remember me? And she says, yes. And then no talking after that. So,
oh man, so, I mean,
that's my Farah and Liza's story.
What I wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall for that situation. If someone gifted me a time machine, I would probably pick that party to go to.
I'd watch that entire party. That sounds incredible.
Well, I thought you were going to go to the Beatles if you had a time machine.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so, how about this? Beatles and then that party.
Okay, stop at the party. I think the party was like, I don't know, 1980 or something.
Oh, that's amazing. And also impressive.
It was amazing.
Like that you can carry 2 women. So
how much did these women weigh? These women, I'm telling you, Farah Fawcett weighed 85 pounds or something. She was, it was startling how petite she was. She was smaller than Al Pacino, maybe. And Liza, you know, Liza looks chunkier, but she's not very heavy and she's tiny.
We love Liza. Before the stream started, Danica and I were singing our renditions of Maybe This Time as our tribute to Liza. We love her.
We spent so much time with Liza. And I would, you know, and I always, you know, including in my rock life, I don't know if this is part of my rock life, but I would always try to sing. We'd go out to a restaurant bar place that had a piano and you know, she'd get them to open up a closed place. And, you know, it was all that kind of just old school Hollywood stuff. And I remember getting on the stage at we were the only people in the place. A big crowd of, you know, her people came, and I got up and sang New York, New York on the stage, which, you know, again, she's like, what the fuck? She took that shit seriously. She was nice to us though. I mean, but then we did get banished somehow for some reason.
I feel like
I've thought of calling her up recently. I thought, I gotta get her to do something, you know. So I thought of trying to get in touch with her. I don't know if she might be amused.
I think you should. Why not?
Yeah. Well, I'll get the number. I'll give it to you, and you can.
Okay, sounds good. Well,
she should be on this. She should be on your show.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, we're available.
So, yes, that's we did the stories with Liza went on, and we went to Halston's house for, if you're watching that Halston thing, we got to watch that Halston thing. But we went to Halston's house when Liza got married. Shit, I think it's on my website. There's a picture of me. Liza wanted all the men at the wedding, including me, surrounding her. None of the women. No women, just men. And I think we were all wearing tuxedos, and you'll see me in a beard there, standing almost next to Liza.
But no polka dots.
I think I was wearing a tux.
Okay.
So
polka dotted tux.
I didn't have a polka dot tux shirt, and I wasn't I wasn't
That's amazing.
Quite as corpulent as I am. But yes, going to Halston's house and raising hell. And John Warner, who was a senator and just died. He was a Republican, so I don't pay much attention to him. But anyways, he was there. He was married to Elizabeth Taylor at the time. And when they brought out the cake for Liza and Mark's wedding celebration, they brought out cake. This is at Halston's house. Crazy cool house. Looks like a brownstone on the front, and the back it's all glass and cool and modern. And they brought out the cake, and her husband said to Liz, this is when she was at her more Zoftig stage. He said, "Don't eat it all, Liz. Your husband says that to you in front of everybody."
First meatloaf, then my goodness, I know.
I saw a lot of diet correction.
Apparently. I mean, good to know. Like, Meatloaf is at least in better health now. I saw him.
Is he?
Yeah, I did an event for him right before kind of the pandemic happened. But I know he did get sick at some point, but he seems to be in better health. No, this is pre-COVID. He like fell on the stage or something. I'm trying to remember what exactly happened. Do you remember, Danica? No. What happened with me? But yeah, he seems to be doing better now because he's been doing a lot of virtual stuff for conventions. So seems to be hanging in there. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, yes, John Warner insulting his wife, Liz Taylor.
How'd you do?
Well, we wanted to ask you about another
look at
legend.
This.
Oh, yeah. They need to hear about your singing ACDC all the way in Mumbai. Yeah.
I did.
In Mumbai?
Yes, I know. This is a man, Sujit, who I met in Mumbai because he was playing in the band that was playing in the hotel I was in. And the first night we got to our hotel, we, after flying takes forever to get to India from the West Coast. And, but after flying for 27 hours or something, we got there and went to the bar, and there was a really rockin' band, including Sujit, who's commenting. And so I got shit-faced, and this guy was walking on the walls of the bar. He was just great, and really crazy long hair. And so he says, he said something about singing, and he thought I was going to turn him down. And it reminds me of seeing you in that Respect, where you did Respect with the band in the mall.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw that the other day. Unbelievable. I didn't sing as well as you do.
Oh,
but
thank you.
He said, "Do you want to sing?" And he was kidding me. And so I grabbed the mic and I sang. I guess I sang AC/DC. You could have fooled me. I don't remember.
You don't remember what song?
But I remember going nuts, because I can climb on the walls too.
Well, so if you did sing an AC/DC song, what would be your go-to AC/DC song?
Oh, it would be, oh shit. Shook Me All Night Long,
Of course.
That's just the greatest. I love that. So
I'm a Highway to Hell kind of girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, love it.
I don't know. I really like You Shook Me All Night Long. Yeah. So that was with Sujit, and now he's moved to the States. So we are in online social media contact.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, Danica,
Yes, so we wanted to ask you about the legendary Ed Ward actually passed away earlier this month. So we were wondering if there is a story you'd like to share in his memory.
Oh yeah, I did a, you know, Edward was who was the he was the second record review editor at Rolling Stone, but that was still very early, right after Greil Marcus. I mean, he has this just you know, illustrious career, and he was the rock historian on NPR for 25 years or something, 30 years maybe, on the Fresh Air show, Terry Gross's Fresh Air show. And he wrote for every magazine there was, and he wrote the history of rock and roll. He's written like 3 or 4 books about the history of rock and roll and all sorts of other stuff. But he gave me my start in writing, and the story of how we met is just mind blowing still to me. And I did a little video of it when he died. I decided I was going to quit playing in bands because I got tired of the bands getting to a certain level and then they would fall apart. And I thought, well, fuck it, I'm getting out of New York. You know, this is when I write about in the book, turning down the guy from Big Brother and the Holding Company. And so I decided I'm moving to California because I had been, my older half brother, my hot rod gangster brother had moved out here, and he had a friend in Sausalito, and he took me to that guy's apartment on my visit. And I was like, oh, maybe I was 18, 17 maybe. And I could not believe, if you've ever been to Sausalito and stood on the hill and looked out at San Francisco Bay and Richardson Bay, which feeds into it, it's like the most gorgeous, crazy view, and all the houses kind of piled up crazy on the hill. So I decided, shit, I got to go back to, after I went back to New York, I got to go back to Sausalito someday. And I did. So I was, you know, so I was like 20 years, maybe 21. I had just turned 21. And I decided, give up on bands. And what could I do? Well, I was always a good writer. So I decided I would write. And what would I write about? Well, the only thing I knew, or I thought I knew until I met Ed Ward, I thought I knew all about rock and roll, right? So I decided, well, you know, I'll go be a rock critic, whatever, you know. And so I didn't immediately get a rock critic job, and I did a bunch of shitty jobs. And but I was looking for an apartment. I was in Sausalito, and I'd been looking for a week, and one day I see this basement on halfway up the first hill on I don't know, you guys don't know, but in this basement apartment that is like, I said, oh shit, that's for rent. It said for rent, and I thought that's got to be cheap, you know. I said, and it was a great location, and so I pull over the car, and I get out of the car, and I'm like trotting across the street, and here comes a guy coming downhill, and he's carrying a box, and he looks like a Hell's Angel, and he's like got this black hat on and this pointy satanic beard, and he is wearing black cowboy boots and all black, and a black, you know, I don't know if he had a leather vest on or something, but and he's kind of a husky guy, and so he looked like Hell's Angel, and he says, "Forget it, I got it," you know. And I'm going, oh shit, he was really not nice guy, not pleasant. And I don't know why. It was the end of the day, and I was like, oh man, well, all right, do you mind if I look at it anyways, just to see what's up? Yeah, you can look at it, but don't get any ideas, you know. He was really aggro guy. And so I go into the apartment, and it's like, yeah, it's a basement apartment. It was a nice apartment. It had the windows and stuff, you know. And this guy comes in behind me and puts down his box. And under the box he's carrying, and under the box is a press pass, you know, on a lanyard. And I'm like, well, what's that? Are you like a writer or something? He says, yeah. He said, well, who do you write for? I've been, I've been trying to, find a way in. And he says, I write for Rolling Stone, Creem, Esquire, whatever the hell else. He went on. And I'm the West Coast editor of Creem, and I'm this and that, and the book review editor of City Magazine, which was the magazine owned by Francis Ford Coppola. And I'm like, oh shit, dude. And then eventually he basically taught me how to, compose a story and he made me his servant. He didn't have a car at the time, so he would make me go either drive him or drive to the store and get shit, because he also loved to cook. So, and he didn't have a girl. Neither of us had girlfriends at the time, and so we would eat together almost, every night. And a guy who joined us most nights was this guy John Morthland, and Ed taught me how to format a story and do all sorts of stuff, and be a professional writer. And then he gave me my first couple of assignments, and he was still a dick, but he was really helping me. And so I never, forgot it. It was like, damn. And even when he could just be meaner than hell. And then we would eat dinner, and he would introduce me. I was a guy, I ate cherry pies and chocolate donuts out of 7-Eleven. That was my diet. And I smoked like a fiend and drank a lot. And so, I was kind of a health nut, you might say.
Yeah, totally.
And
Atkins, yeah.
And so Ed would, cook all this really gourmet food that would just scare the shit out of me. It was like, it would have, oysters in it, or, seafood. That scared the hell out of me. I now love everything, probably due to Ed Ward's teaching. And so we would eat dinner every night, he and I and John Morthland, who was also a writer and was an early Rolling Stone editor. And then they would put on music to educate me. And they would put on really obscure rock music. Like, that's the first place I ever heard reggae music. There was like, what is this reggae music? And he put on the Wailers and just all sorts of stuff, and country music. They were into country music. And I remember it was the first place I heard Bruce Springsteen. They played me The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, his second album. And it was like, oh shit, that's really good, And anyways, so they educated me. He taught me to drink porter, which I still drink. I'm not drinking Guinness, but so I still drink porter. I love porter, my go-to beer. And then John Morthland got summoned was offered a job as the interim editor of Creem magazine, because Creem magazine had been through a bunch of editors after Dave Marsh, and nobody seemed to be able to hack it. And so they decided they would get Morthland wouldn't take the job full time, because he was he was a funny guy, and he went there, and he was charged with kind of cleaning the place up, making the books work, and putting in some processes for editorial stuff, which he didn't put in much of. But and then Morthland called me, and by this time I had moved back to New York. And Morthland called me. I was sleeping on my friend Mark's couch. The guy who eventually married Liza Minnelli had a tenement apartment, and it was just a total dive. And he called me, and I had no money, broke. And he said, "You want to come and be copy boy at Creem magazine in Detroit?" And I'm like, I want a job. Fuck yeah, definitely. Right. And I flew out there in January of that year. I think it was 21, and I was copy boy. And after John Morthland left, they tried another series of editors, and within about 6 months, the publisher came to me and said, "Hey, how would you like to be editor?"
That seems so quick.
It did, but I was like, I guess I had a knack for. I was just kind of like a cheerleader, and I was always fucking around and entertaining people. I kind of got along with everybody. So I could write, I guess. When you're a writer, I'm insecure to this day. I think, that sucked. And I'll go back and read it, a couple of years later. I think, oh, that didn't suck.
We're our own worst critics.
It all started. So it all started with Ed Ward. He literally is the one person that, he changed my life. What would have happened? Maybe I would have met another prominent rock critic to get me a rock critic job, but probably not. And and my goal ultimately was not to be a rock critic, was to write a novel, and that only took me about another 35 years.
Right.
So,
Brief
but now I've done it, and thanks to Ed, you know. So I was sad to see him go. I would keep in touch with him over the years, and you know, I last saw him like 3 or 4 years ago at John Morthland's memorial service in Austin, Texas, where he was living. So everybody's gone except me. So it's of that little trio. So that was Ed. He was a really, I noticed all the obits, everybody's remembrance of Ed included the word cantankerous or irascible. And that's the thing. He just shot himself in the foot every day of his life. But he was a brilliant writer, a brilliant musicologist. And you know, the thing he maybe was best at, I saw Greil Marcus say this, was those little history of rock and roll things, his little 5-minute segments on NPR on the Terry Gross show. They were great. He was always presenting new people. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you know, his memory will live on. Obviously, he's a legend, and it's just.
I wish you'd met him, though. You would have seen. You would say, "What an asshole."
Well, do you think that was part of his personality, like because of the industry? You know, like sometimes that was just him.
Yeah, I think we're all born the way we are, and he was born kind of that way, and yet, you know. And he was really nice to me, but again, I was driving him around. So, but I loved him. He didn't, you know, I don't know if he loved me, but
I'm sure he did. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I feel bad pivoting, but
pivot.
Okay, we're going to pivot. Well, one of the things that like Danica and I always talk about is how music can, you know, affect our mood. You can be having literally a terrible, awful day, and then you can hear a song that, like, you know, instantly changes your mood. So we were wondering, is there a song like that for you that if you're ever having an off day, you can put it on and feel better?
Oh, you know, I think there's a lot of them, you know, and and there's, I mean, a song like the ACDC song, "Weird You Shook Me All Night Long." I mean, that'll get me going. And you know, it's funny, we have this grandbaby now, and we sing to her, but her favorite song, my wife and I, her favorite song we sing to her is a Steel Eyes Span song that we first heard in the Bells of Hell bar in New York City. And I always crack up because this is a song we put her to sleep with. You know, it's like kind of an old, they were an Irish band. It's kind of an old Irish song adapted for rock. And I laugh to think the debauched circumstances under which we acquired the knowledge of this song, and we're singing the little precious baby to sleep, and it puts her to sleep. So All Around My Hat by Steel Eyes Span, you know, that lifts me up. You know, I can go back to something. Everybody, you know, Hey Jude. I saw. My company did a bunch of work over years for Hard Rock, their hotels and their cafes, and they were putting on this concert in Hyde Park for a few years. It was actually our idea to do it, and McCartney headlined one time, and when he was singing Hey Jude in his show, I looked around and all young people were crying, older people were crying. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Now, you know, what is it? It's a slightly sad song, as it says. But
it certainly is, yeah.
But it just, you know, that was just, you know, wow, crazy to see that, and like, you know, 50,000 people crying. So I mean, something like Hey Jude and ACDC, and you know, I'm trying to think. You know, I'm a big Guided by Voices fan. If you put on pretty much any random Guided by Voices song, I'll be happy. I love Robert Pollard, the singer and songwriter. Stones. I mean, you know, come on. I grew up on the Beatles and Stones and the Stones, and you know, I mean, you know, Sympathy for the Devil. I've sung that to Stella, the grandbaby. She likes to pound on stuff, and so I was doing the beat from Sympathy for the Devil and singing it to her, trying to kind of get her into that.
Have you heard, I'm trying to remember, and Danica, maybe you can help me out here. There, a couple months ago, we had on Corey Taylor from Slipknot. Yeah. And somebody mentioned that they take, you know, these songs and they turn them into lullabies. And so if you go on Spotify, anything from, the Stones, Alice Cooper, or Slipknot, the lullaby versions, it's, I mean, you know, that's how you raise a child right. You know, you put on the
so creepy and so good.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard the ones there. There's a Spotify list that I have, you know, bookmarked that has. Oh God, it kind of has a hip hop version of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and and it has, you know, all stuff like that. And I don't. Maybe I've heard the lullaby sing, but I'm gonna listen to it.
Oh yeah,
she's coming over tomorrow. So.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's really neat.
A ton of them.
Yeah, it's like you name it, they have the Who, you know, Beatles, of course. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
A lot of Metallica. A lot of Metallica.
Oh
yeah, my daughter and her partner, they're trying to not play her children's music, and like when they come over and catch us singing "Mary Had a Little Lamb" to her, my wife and I sing. We're just singing all the time with the kid, and they're like, "Oh no!"
You're like, "It's the hip hop version."
Yeah,
no, God.
Well, we're not singing the hip hop version.
Oh, okay.
I think we're too.
Well, that I would like.
We're too snowy in complexion.
Well, Danica.
Oh, well, so I had to ask after watching, I finally got around to watching the
cheers, absolutely,
to my passion fruit sparkling water. Pretty good, thank you, HEB.
It's the beginning of a 4-day weekend, so I thought, okay,
let's get this party. Yeah, let's get it started.
Yeah. So after watching the documentary about Creem, you know, I have to say the documentary really kind of, for me at least, makes it seem like it was maybe not a wonderful place to work with all those competing personalities. So I was just curious for you, like, what made it worthwhile? Because, you know, obviously you weren't there at the time, but at the very beginning. So were those competing personalities still happening when you were there?
Well, I think the idea of having Dave Marsh, who was the founding editor, basically, and Lester Bangs, who came along a little under the same roof, that was impossible. That was never going to last. Now they're both brilliant, well, Lester's gone, but that was, you know, the greatest friction was between them. And then after Dave went to New York to become a journalism star, it was a different scene. And then the bad guy became Barry Kramer, who was the publisher. And Kramer was kind of like, you know, Dave was a serious kind of angry young man. And Lester was a serious, drunken, crazy young man. But again, brilliant. I'm saying that lovingly. And
with love.
But Kramer was a little bit of, I always thought he was a little bit of a paper tiger. And I remember, you know, one day he would test you. And so you could get Kramer under control. So the bad atmosphere didn't, but I remember Kramer one day came into my office and I had this just incredibly messy desk piled with shit. And he just put his arm on it and swept the whole thing, all my shit off onto the floor, you know, to fuck with me. And so, again, I'm like, I don't know where I got the stones, but I went in. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I went into Kramer's office, and he's the publisher and the owner and all this stuff. And I just scooped all his shit off his desk. And he's screaming, no, 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 no. But I think after that, it was like, okay, you know, I'll play.
An eye for an eye. Yep.
But, you know, so when I was there, I felt it was, and I think, you know, I'll take a slight credit, but I think I kind of liked everybody and got along, including the publisher. and got along. And so I think that helped. Lester, we did this. And when Barry came to me and asked me, did I want to be editor? I said to him, I think I was a human resources genius. I said to him, I said, well, I don't want the title of editor. Here's what I want. I think you should give Lester the title of the editor, because he'll be bent out of shape. And that's why he's driven out the last 5 editors. And I said, even though Lester and I got on really greatly. And I said, why don't you make this new title, managing editor? And I'll be the guy who kind of tries to keep shit together. It's odd to think of me that way. I'm not that kind of person, but I'll try to keep things. But compared to Lester, I was pretty organized. And so we did that. Lester was so happy to be, because he was the soul of the magazine at that point. He was just, and he wrote half the shit in it. The funny picture captions were, 75% of them were his, and the funny table of contents. He was really once you got him to work, once you kind of steered him, got him in front of his bowl of work, he would get it done. So that's what we did. We made Lester editor, and I became managing editor. The deal was, we didn't talk about the deal, that we didn't brute that about, so it worked. So it was a nice environment when I was there. And I think you're seeing the Marsh Lester conflicts, and throw in Barry Kramer, who just liked to fight. And, but he was, I did think he was a little bit of a paper tiger.
I like that phrase too. But if anyone ever comes and uses their arm to swoop something off their desk, from what we're learning from Robert, swoop it off theirs too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Swoop right back.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I had fun. I had wonderful times there at Creem. I really did. And in the end, the reason I left, I got in a fight with Kramer, and I got in a fight with Kramer because, not a physical fight, but I went to I had a girlfriend in New York, and she wouldn't come to Michigan and all this stuff. So I decided one day I would just go, she called me with some fake shit. And I went to New York and didn't tell anybody I was leaving. And I stayed away for about a week. And Kramer's like, where the fuck is Duncan? And so then I came back. And he said, well, he had docked me my paychecks. Like he just didn't give me my paychecks. And now he was in the right, I think. But I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm out of here, you bastard, and I went back to New York. So, so I eventually got in a fight. But the atmosphere, Jan Uhelski was a very nice person. Sue Whitehall was a nice person. And I don't know. We spent a lot of time hanging out together, the gang, especially me and Lester and one of the other writers, Eric Genheimer. So
awesome.
Not as bad as the documentary, but I found the documentary to be accurate. I found it to be
good to know, coming from the insider.
Right.
He called me. So the director, Scott Crawford, who I love now, I had never met him before. He called me so many times that at the end, he says, look, I'm going to make you story consultant, because he would call me and he would send me clips and say, what do you think about this and this and that? I was quite honored. And so then he made me story consultant. So I do have a stake in it. I don't have a financial stake, Lord knows, but I have a.
Well, there is a stake. A random thing. It sounded like you doing those voiceovers.
It was me.
It was.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Scott.
Man, that sounds a lot like Robert Duncan's voice.
Scott interviewed me, and he said, hey, and then he called me back and he said, hey, would you mind reading this? So I did that, and then he kept calling me with more and more. So I did a lot of the voiceovers, and then he got another guy to do, I don't know, maybe the other half of the voiceovers. And it was this guy, Eric Jensen, who I'm going to talk to at 5:45. Eric Jensen is an actor. He's been on Walking Dead. There's a show right now produced by 50 Cent. It's called For Life. for life. It's like a crime drama, prison drama. It's actually really good. And he did a play. He and his wife write and direct plays. They're both actors and directors and writers. And they did a play about Lester Bangs called How to Be a Rock Critic, which
I recognize this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Eric
Hunter. Yeah.
ERIK. And and he did a thing about Lester. He was, I guess, a huge Creem fan. He's 20 or some years younger than me, and he was a huge Creem fan when he was a kid, and particularly a Lester fan. And after Lester died, they went to John Morthland's house, who was the executor of Lester's literary estate, and went through all of Lester's gazillion papers and stitched together a play out of Lester's writings, a one-man play that Eric Jensen played Lester with a fat suit, because Eric's not fat, when I read about this, I wrote them. I said, hey, I got to come see. There were previews down in San Diego, and I said, I got to go see this. Maybe it'll never make it anywhere, but it did. It toured the country, not widely, and I hope they do it again. He was astounding. I'm sitting there in the front row just crying. It was so well done. It really, if you ever got, and I know they were trying to sell a movie of it and may have succeeded.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that.
We're going to talk more about that in about an hour.
All right. Well, we don't want to keep you too long. So
you keep me all night. Look at me. I can talk forever. I just got to talk to Eric.
Listen, we're here to listen. I wish we had 10 hours, but we do have a game, Robert. We have another game of Would You Rather. Once again, there's no wrong answers. So,
oh my God, this is the scariest part of the show.
No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right, Danica, do you want to read the first one?
All right, let's do it. Would you rather go back in time and have lunch with James Brown, or go back in time and have lunch with Prince?
Oh, wow. That's like, I think I'd say Prince, but James Brown was the original Prince in a sense. I mean, Prince took his, a lot of his moves from James Brown. I got to see James Brown once, never met him, but I got to see him from about 10 feet away.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And
so jealous.
Yeah, great. I saw Prince several times, and tried to go to his, Paisley Park when he was having those concerts. And I was in Minnesota. My sister lives in Minnesota. My brother and I were out there for some wedding or something. And Prince, we heard, was having a show at Paisley Park. And we drove around for 3 hours in the Minnesota dark, which is pretty goddamn dark, trying to find Paisley Park, because this is before GPS, which is a truly sad time, I can tell you. And we never found it. It was like, So I think I would want to talk to Prince. I might be too intimidated by James Brown, and he was kind of I think Prince I might be able to have more of a conversation with.
Okay. All right. No wrong answers. All right. So here's the next one. Would you rather co-author a novel with Chuck Palahniuk or co-author a novel with Stephen King?
Well, I think I would pick Stephen King, because I follow him on social media, and I quite enjoy his, he's, I don't know, I feel simpatico with him. Chuck, I don't know Chuck. I know his stuff, but Stephen King, and I think he'd be really good to hang with. And in fact, he and Dave Marsh were in a kind of a goof band called the Rock Bottom Remainders, and they would play at literary conventions and shit like that periodically.
Cool.
But apparently he was a very very nice guy. So I'm interested. Cool. I'm not even a huge Stephen King reader, if a reader at all, but we won't tell him that.
Okay, long time watcher. Sorry, Stephen. All right, next one, Danica.
All right. Would you rather see a new version of Creem or see a new version of Circus?
Well, I've seen a new version of Creem. They did one in was it the 80s or 90s? God, it was just terrible. They tried to make it into kind of what was that, Wallpaper, or one of those magazines that were fashion really kind of fashion magazines, and Creem was not not really a fashion magazine. New version of Circus. I told you that they once, after I left Creem, they offered, the publisher Circus asked me if I wanted to be the editor. So I think I'd worry less about somebody fucking up Circus, because it just doesn't have the meaning that the Creem does to me, and I think others. So I think I'd take Circus, let them fuck it up, and it wouldn't matter that much. Because they would, and they would fuck up Creem even worse, because it was.
All right. All right. Here's the next one. Would you rather, get a Boy Howdy tattoo on your arm, or have to wear a Boy Howdy shirt every day?
I think I'd go for the tattoo, because, I wear black t-shirts. I don't want to wear a white t-shirt. I'm too fat for that.
No, not at all.
And, but my friend, this guy who's good, the musician, did I tell you about this guy?
Yeah, they got the tattoo.
Yeah, shit. I should have brought a slideshow, and I could have shown you that stuff.
That's all right. All right,
I might get one. I like it. I think it's really cute.
I do too. I think it's super cute.
Tattoo? Yeah. It looks okay. And again, few hours of tattooing versus a lifetime of having to wear a white t-shirt.
We could add some polka dots to it. I don't know. I feel like we could spruce it up a little.
All right. Well, come back to me when the polka dots are on it. Okay. And
We'll talk. Great. All right. Next one.
All right. Would you rather swim with sharks or go bungee jumping?
I think I would rather. Well, what do you think I'm going to choose?
Swim with sharks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because the idea of counting on that little rubber band to not drop you into the earth, I don't buy. I'd rather trust one of these guys.
Yeah, that one looks very friendly. Yeah,
I'm not wild about either idea. I mean, the idea, the shark thing would be more interesting. I don't need thrills. I got enough thrills. Life is a thrill. I don't like, scary movies or horror movies or thrillers or something, because I'm always like, what the fuck? I said I'm scared out of my mind half the time anyways. So no, bungee jumping, sharks, if you make me.
We're not going to make you.
I think I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, well, sharks.
I think that would be a special episode of your podcast, would be you pushing me in the water,
and then so the three of us
interview you while you're underwater with sharks,
and bring Liza.
Well, I could rescue her from sharks.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Is this on me? Okay. Would you rather see the Boy Howdy logo reinterpreted by Salvador Dali or reinterpreted by Andy Warhol?
Well, this is a very good question. And one I've wrestled with most of my life.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. I mean, I'm not I love art, go to museums. I didn't used to when I was younger, but I was an art history minor. I love looking at art. I'm not a big Dali fan. And nor am I a big Warhol fan, although I admire his kind of, his Andy Warhol business and the way he conducted himself and his all shit. So I guess I'd pick Warhol.
Okay. Fair choice. All right.
Was that the right one? That was the right one, wasn't it?
It's fine.
No? It's fine. That means it wasn't. Oh, geez.
I mean, I'm
sorry to embarrass you guys.
No, you don't. I just have a special place in my heart for Salvador Dali because of the thing that he did with Alice Cooper. So
I remember. I
was because I have a Dali tattoo.
Oh, damn, I'm just dissing all your people.
We have to go. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I know, you're fine. All right. Danica, go ahead.
Would you rather spend an evening with the Hollywood vampires or be part of the Memphis Mafia?
Well, now, I didn't know John Lennon was in the Hollywood Vampires.
He was.
Okay, definitely that. Because I would love to have met Elvis. I saw him perform once, but it's a bunch of guys kissing Elvis's ass. That just does not interest me. I'd rather kiss John Lennon's ass.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay.
And I see Mickey Dolenz and Alice and Nielsen, Harry Nielsen. Who's the woman in front? Is that just a passerby?
Gosh, I'm assuming so, but I'm trying to remember the story with gosh,
I'm gonna have to think on the head thing.
Yeah, now that I've had my like one little glass of wine, now I'm trying to remember. I had a cool Hollywood vampire story that Alice told about a singer that Shep brought to hang out, and then she became famous from being part of the Hollywood Vampires. I'll have to remember it from next time. All right.
I think you have a drinking problem. Well,
drinking
here's to you.
All right. Here's I think the last one. Okay. Would you rather spend an entire month straight reviewing bands at CBGB's or spend an entire month straight reviewing bands at the Cavern in Liverpool?
Now, you got to clarify, is this the Cavern back in the day
or
like
then
when the Beatles were around and all that?
Yes.
Cavern. Because I spent a month straight in CBGB's, probably. We used to, we were there a lot.
Cavern it is. That's but both answers are great. So
but Cavern in the day, that would be a revelation. Being at CBGB's wouldn't be a revelation to me. But
I just wish I would have had the opportunity to go. I feel like I would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't just go out carousing and go to CBGB's and trying to think. One night, very early on in the punk era and the CBGB's era, we went there. I forget who I went. Maybe I went with my wife. I forget how we went there, and there was like 3 people in the place, and there was a trio playing, and it turns out, of course, and I'm sitting back in the back of the place with a guy named Tom Verlaine, who was Television, the band Television, and we're watching like one of the first performances, if not the first, of Talking Heads, when they were still a trio, and it was like, now that was cool. That was fun. Although you didn't know, I watched Talking Heads, and you're thinking, all right, I like this, but how is this ever going to be commercial? I was very surprised when Sire Records started buying up all those bands, from CBGB's. I thought, well, they're not going to make any money on that shit, but good.
But they certainly did.
But they did.
They did. All right. I think that was that the last one, Danica?
I think so.
It was the last one. Well,
I had said to myself I was going to make up a contest for you, but I didn't. You got the slides, and I was going to ask you from my vantage point, who would you rather play in your life story, Betty Grable or Ava Gardner?
Oh, I'm going Ava.
Ava. Okay. Oh, does that wait? Yeah.
See, I use the name Betty Grable when I'm trying to make fun of myself for being old. So I'll tell the kids in my office, I'll say, yo, that Grable, she's something. She's some tomato. And they're all they puzzle over that, First of all, I don't know who Betty Grable is.
She's some tomato.
So I was going to try to do that to you, but it just.
Well, how about it's a challenge for next time?
It is. Well, you think about it. Maybe you'll change your mind.
What do you mean? Oh, if I'm going to change
Ava Gardner, okay. Yeah, I think I would pick Ava Gardner too.
Yeah,
but I can't really picture Betty Grable's face. But I just remember she was the pinup, and in war movies from World War II, you'd see, they'd have Betty Grable on the wall. I was asking my wife today. I said, "Who are some of the other pinups? Come on, tell me quick." And
Betty Page.
Yeah, Betty Page.
Betty Page, yeah. Although, but she, I don't remember seeing her in like war movies when you'd see Below Decks and the sailors would have, I don't know. That's a good, there's a discussion. That's another podcast.
Let's plan it.
Pinups.
We're into
David Bowie's pinups, and
I'll do my hair better next time so you can actually, so I look closer to.
Oh, Betty Page,
bouncy, yeah, little bouncy bangs going.
Well, since we've come to the end of another stream, is there any final thoughts that you want to leave us with here?
Have a good 4-day weekend or whatever you got. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I have a great time hanging with you guys. It's really, I think you do a great podcast. I wasn't shitting when I said that on social media.
Thank you.
and I don't know, whatever. Go buy Loudmouth.
Buy Loudmouth.
Buy the damn audiobook because that's got me talking. So and what else? I don't know. That's all I got. I'm looking forward to drinking the rest of this beer and talking to Eric Jensen.
Well, we're excited to hear that too.
Yeah.
Before we do wrap this up, though, we want to go over our upcoming guests that we have for the rest of May and June. Oh, I guess this is the end of May. So next week, starting in June, we have Taylor Maine, who is from Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Next Thursday, we're welcoming back Ace Von Johnson from the LA Guns and Faster Pussycat. The following Tuesday, we have actor Matt Frazier. Then the following Thursday, another actor, Jonah Ray from Mystery Science Theater 3000. The following Tuesday, we're excited to welcome Peter Mongelli, who is the owner and creator of Spooky Empire in Orlando, Florida. And then we're having a special bonus show with Ryan Roxy, who is one of the guitarists from Alice Cooper. We're very excited. And then hopefully we'll add back our polka-dotted prince, Robert Duncan. Whether
Love
June
that.
or July, you tell us.
Anytime. Yeah. Anytime. I so enjoy it. You guys are great.
Well,
I also think that's your official new title. You are now the Polka Dot Prince.
God, I wish I could kind of sell that to the wider public, because being Robert Duncan, there are too many of them used to be the phone book, but there's there's a famous poet. I mean, it's just a shitty name to have.
It's not the worst I've heard. It's by a long shot.
I'd rather be Engelbert Humperdinck,
which is a fabulous name, but not his real name. But
yeah, not his real name. I know, and that's actually a British composer from the 1800s or something.
Man, we should try to get Engelbert on here. I know my dad was supposed to play golf with him not too long ago. Well, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but that would have been fun.
Oh, is he still with us?
Engelbert? Yeah, he's 85. He's still
85. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he would know how to join us on social media, but we could try.
I'm sure he has an attendant.
We had Tommy Chong on, who was 82. He figured it out.
That's crazy. I saw that.
He did the thing.
And he was super high.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why.
And he was able to pick it up,
Yeah. Wow. Engelbert Humperdinck is still touring, says Jude.
Yeah, apparently.
Wow.
Well,
all right. I want to hear more about your dad playing golf with celebrities.
Meatloaf.
Yeah.
We'll have to. We'll talk about this next time. I'm trying to set him up with Alice when Alice is in town. But all right, until the next one. You hate it? You can say it.
It's like I always tell people, I'm not old enough to play golf.
Not yet. So in about 10, 15 more years, 20 years?
Yeah,
when do you think?
I don't think so.
Okay, after swimming with the sharks, then he'll start to golf.
Swimming with the sharks might get me into golf.
That's how it works, folks. Well, until next week, have a wonderful 4-day weekend. Robert Duncan, we appreciate you so much.
Okay.
All right, we'll see y'all soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Au revoir.